Hi, and welcome back to Pushbox Banter. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Craig, and today we're going to be talking about the Singapore Grand Prix and some really good stuff leading into it as well.
That's right.
All sorts of stuff. Yeah, so we've got Ricardo talk. We've got McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari. Maybe, and who knows, maybe we'll even sprinkle in a little
Sauber.
Colapinto. Maybe a little Sauber.
A little Williams.
On top. Yeah.
This is where we start naming all the teams.
Yeah. Let me go through and name all the rest of the teams again. So we've got some cool stuff kind of leading into this weekend, and we'll talk about the qualifying and talk about the race.
Yeah.
How that all played out.
Cool.
Yes.
So we should start with Daniel Ricciardo.
Yes. So Daniel Ricciardo racing for the RB, the V-Carb. They come into this race and they have a new livery that looks like blue jeans. I have no idea why it's denim, but it is and has a big zipper on it. It's kind of cool look, but also kind of strange at the same time.
Do you think it's probably the Hugo Boss?
Maybe. Why?
It has
why
to be.
Singapore? Like, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It
it's
was
gotta
weird.
be.
It was a little weird. I didn't like it.
New sponsor or something.
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Maybe it's Levi.
No. I don't know.
I don't know. It was probably
so
Hugo
strange.
Boss. I don't know because
Probably.
they do like clothing and stuff, right?
I
That's them.
guess. I guess. I don't. But are they famous for jeans? I should really look this up. But
Yeah, is it Fashion Week? No.
not in Singapore. Maybe. I don't think so. But yeah. So that was a little strange. Kind of cool to check it out if you haven't seen it. But so Daniel Ricciardo going into this race, there's been a lot of talk about him. Is this his final race? Is this his final season? He hasn't had the greatest of seasons this year. He is kind of on the backside of his career. And there's been a lot of talk about, hey, VCARB is a team for young drivers to develop them for the RB team. And he is not a young driver anymore. So, you know, their hope at the beginning of the season was that he was going to do an excellent job, push Tsunoda to greater heights, so on and so forth. And that hasn't really played out as they had designed. So that was a lot of the talk. How is he going to do?
You know, I'm pretty sure. I think the thought was he was probably going to replace Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
When he came on, it was kind of the idea, right? He's probably going to be in RB for a little bit, push Tsunoda, and then hop in and scoop Perez's seat and be that partner with Verstappen again, especially because they have similar driving styles. So
yeah, I think that's true. You know, last year you had Perez kind of on an up and down year. So there were times where he was great, and other times like he really struggled in the middle of the season. He kind of came in form near the end of the season. So so that was a big thought.
Yeah.
And then the beginning of this season, he was racing well. And then after somewhere around Monaco, he started tailing off.
Right.
And so there was more talk about, hey, is Ricciardo going to come into play? But he hadn't been racing that well.
Yeah.
And some of it, like how much of it's the car, how much of it's him. If for a lot of the races, he was behind Tsunoda, then he started picking it up and was in front of Tsunoda. And then, just never really did a lot of impressing.
yeah.
So
I feel like ever since he left Red Bull the first time, it seems like it's just been like underachieving and not really representative like what he can actually do. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a psychological thing or something.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't. But I think some of it at some points has been psychological, but I think others it's been the car too that he's driving. And I think definitely like right now, you're not going to see him racing for wins, but he should be, probably more competitive than what he is.
Right.
So that's one of the things that was a big talk this past week and coming into the race. So then one of the other things, with it being Singapore, we've got another street race.
Yeah.
Is the king of the streets Perez? Is he going to be back?
Yeah.
Is he going to be fighting for the win? Get the king of the streets out there. So that was one thing. And then Red Bull, and to kind of continue on with Red Bull is Verstappen. How are they going to do? They had last week in Baku, Perez did really well up until right at the end when he wrecked out. But Verstappen, he was okay, wasn't as good as Perez last week. So how is that going to play out this weekend? And then Norris and Piastri, the McLarens, they just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and winning and winning and winning. So it seems like they can't do anything wrong at this point. So is that going to play out more? I think those were some of the big things. Last week after watching Baku, I was thinking Ferrari is, Leclerc, that's going to be something to watch as well. So, and then Mercedes, like this season, like all those teams have been right there and potential winners. So,
Right. Yeah.
And then the other story is Colapinto,
Oh, Colapinto.
everybody's favorite new rookie.
Yeah.
So things to keep our eyes on for this weekend. So we get into the race weekend. We get into the practice sessions. One of the crazy things, we had a very slow time on the track.
Yeah,
on
we had a
P3, I believe.
Yes, we had a slow time. We had a lizard.
About 10 miles, going about 10 miles per hour the wrong way down one of the straights. So, yeah.
Yeah, we had a lizard. It was just going super fast.
Big
running.
iguana lizard.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Like foot long or 2 feet long.
Yes.
Running.
Yeah, it was quite comical.
Yeah, if you go back and see it, like you got to look for it because it's when it's running. They have a picture of it from behind, and it looks like it's just hovering in the air as it's running, and its legs are like almost flapping. They're really touching the ground, but it's pretty funny looking. But no iguanas were harmed. It was safe.
I think that was the moment of the whole race weekend. Actually,
it was probably the most exciting portion, definitely
sure.
of the practice sessions. There weren't any like huge incidences or anything like that. There were some where. I think we had a few people finding the walls from time to time, but nothing like major.
Nothing major.
Yeah. So we get through with practice sessions and we get into the qualifying. And qualifying, very first round, it's exciting.
The first round, yeah, it is exciting. Some track evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to warm up their tires. None of them are getting too much traction.
Yes, which, side note here.
Yeah.
The whole race weekend, they're saying, oh, Singapore's so hot. It's going to be so hard with all the drivers and everything. Right. And yeah, I mean, of course, Singapore is very humid. I think humidity was like 74%. But the race temperature was like 39 degrees. I mean, it's not like they've had hotter races all throughout the year.
I think it's the humidity or something.
It is the humidity, but so you're not really getting like, because it's at night, you're not going to get the radiant heat bouncing off the tarmac and heating the tarmac up to where it's way hotter than like where the fans are sitting.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that like they played it up bigger than what it really was.
That's what they were saying, that at moments they were like almost cooling them too much where they weren't hooking. And that's part of the reason why we saw some wrecks later on. You wouldn't expect it. That would be such a big deal, but they played it up the whole race and then qualifying too. Yeah.
So that was one of the storylines kind of going into the race. I think another one was the virtual safety car, and if that's going to happen. So but going back into qualifying, the very Q1, couple of people that maybe thinking that might make it past that. Actually, just one. You're hoping Ricardo would make it past it. Yeah. And he did not. He got bumped out in Q1. So kind of a bad start to the weekend. Somebody that you're thinking, man, he really needs to shine here. And not really.
It didn't happen.
Not so much.
No, it didn't.
Yeah. It could have been worse. I mean, he ends up in 16th, so just barely getting knocked out on Q1. So Q2. So then, like, I don't know about yours, but my focus goes to some of the middle of the pack teams. So Williams being one of them that I'm watching for Colapinto.
Colapinto, yeah, it's our new favorite driver.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping that they're going to make it into Q3.
Yeah,
and they don't. They're close though. They're real close.
Who else doesn't make it to Q3?
Your buddy.
Yeah,
your favorite.
My favorite. Yeah, so he gets knocked out.
Yeah,
his first lap was not good, and then you'd kind of expect him to have a better pass at the second round, and it just doesn't happen. He doesn't hook up a lap, and he goes out.
Yeah, that was really
13th or something.
Yeah, he ends up 13th.
Yeah,
which is really kind of strange. I was thinking, okay, we had street race last week.
Yeah,
Carr did really well. He's coming back for another street race. 2 years ago, he won here. He always does well here.
He does well. Yeah.
and then he just didn't hook it up, and I was shocked.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were talking about last time is, was Baku a fluke? Is he just really good at Baku? Was it the car? But throughout the whole week, or is it, because of the wreck, maybe there wasn't parts that should have been on that car that weren't. I don't know, but yeah, the whole weekend it was like he was trailing by like a second and half a second to Max. It was pretty bad. But at one point, I think he was like 8th and Max was like 15th. So I don't know what happened, if it was just the tires, because they were talking about the unpredictability of the tires, right? That apparently they're actually made and then they're finished by hand or something.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
And yes. And so there's some inconsistency. So from every hard or every soft, there's just some variance to them. And I wonder if that's what happened, that during quali, it's just so inconsistent that he just couldn't hook up a lap.
Yeah.
But I think that's wishful thinking. I think just throughout the weekend he was struggling, and maybe the car wasn't set up the way it was in Baku, or they were missing stuff. They were saying they were going to have trouble basically up to Austin to get parts that they needed for that car. So who knows? But yeah, he was out, and that was kind of a shame because obviously this was the moment for them to kind of do some damage limitation for the amount of points in the constructors, right? So like he needs to be up there with Max. It doesn't matter if it's 4th or 5th or 6th, but they need to be kind of close and together and getting points. So starting 13th in a place where obviously passing is difficult, and obviously we'll get into that, but yeah, it was in a good situation for them or for him.
Yeah. So that was rough in Q2, and then we go into Q3, and which is actually a pretty interesting one. So everybody gets out, they get going on their laps. You've got Piastri comes in on the very first of his flying lap. He comes in first place with his time. Hulkenberg gets a time down as well. And then Verstappen's right behind Piastri. And I think he may have had a little bit better time, but in between him, or maybe in between Piastri and Verstappen was Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
And and on the very last turn, I think next to the last turn, he ends up running off. And
yeah, so he was on his out lap, right?
Yeah.
Went all the way around, about to start, and I think he made room for Piastri to finish his lap. So he kind of got off the racing line, and basically turning into turn one, going into the first, the first straight, going into turn one. Yeah, he like. He just I guess didn't have any heat in the tires. They were so cold that he just took off, and the car went to the right, went backwards, and hit the wall. So, and as that's happening, so as he hits the wall, guess who's between? He's in between Piastri, who just finished a lap, Hulkenberg, who just finished a lap, and Max Verstappen, who basically is in front of him, catches the double yellows.
Yeah.
Doesn't really slow down, does eventually. Could have been in some hot water there, but yeah, he lost his lap, and his lap was a good lap, probably a pole lap. So
yeah, it was weird because like he comes around that last corner, and it's a corner that has, the car is well off the track. It's not close to anybody running.
There's
into
some
the
runoff
car.
for sure.
Yeah, plenty of runoff. And Verstappen swings by, and they show it on the visor cam, and you can barely see that car sitting over there.
It blends in.
It blends in, like it really does.
It does,
and he comes swinging around, and and I think there's a touch of a let off on the throttle, just a touch, but he still like has a great time.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like, why didn't this time count?
Right. Yeah.
But that was why. So yeah. So that happened. There's 8 minutes left, and there's a
red flag.
red flag that comes out. So when that red flag comes out, 8 minutes left, everybody goes back in, they pit. And so then the strategy is like, okay, well, these are long lap times.
Yeah.
It's a minute and a half if you're flying. So how are they going to do that? And what order are you going to come back out in? Do you want to come back out first so you possibly have 2 laps? Do you want to come out at the end so that you have better track evolution? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it's risky too, right?
Yeah,
If you're
because-
coming out at the end, the odds are that there's going to be some sort of wreck or something, right? So you want to make sure you get your lap in before somebody screws up. You can't do a lap. Max took that challenge, right? He was the last one,
Yeah.
and yeah, got P2.
He nailed that
Yeah.
lap too.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he had great. It was great.
Yeah,
That was an excellent lap. And you had Norris getting P1.
right.
So then Verstappen, and then another great ride was Hamilton. He got third
That's
coming
right.
in there.
Russell fourth.
I
believe.
either Russell or let's see. Yes, Russell was fourth, Piastri fifth, and then you had Hulkenberg coming in sixth,
Hulkenberg. Yeah,
which was great for a Haas. It's amazing. Alonso, the Lion of Singapore,
yeah.
came in seventh. and then Yuki Tsunoda,
Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda.
the denim car,
yeah.
coming through.
That was good. I mean, apparently that car, they had brought some upgrades for this specific race, right? I think something about the front wing was meant to give it some sort of balance between the chicanes. And it seemed to have been working. And obviously, I think he also
Did for little Yuki.
put the, well, that's what I was
Yeah.
going to say, put the nail in the coffin for our boy, Daniel Rick. So,
potentially,
yeah.
yeah, potentially there. I don't know. I think that may have already been
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
case, maybe. But
Yeah.
and then Leclerc comes in ninth, and then that which
What
was
happened
surprising.
with, yeah, exactly. Like we get what happened with
I think-
Sainz. He was
didn't
10th.
Didn't Leclerc have something where he went like extended track limits or on one of the laps? I don't remember exactly.
I think maybe the first lap they had it was Piastri, I think, where it was Leclerc.
Mm-hmm.
They withdrew his time
Yeah, I think
because he went over track limits.
Yeah. I think so. He only had like one. Either they withdrew both of his laps. No, it would have been just because
just
at the
one of
very end he basically just had one lap in that
Yeah.
last stint,
Right.
and he went over time the white line
Yeah,
track limits.
exactly.
So if you're a Ferrari fan,
Yeah,
may
but
have been crying
But
on
what happened
Saturday.
there? It seems like it's so strange how every race it's like somebody's dropping.
mm-hmm.
Like not just by I mean, obviously every little incremental change is quite exaggerated.
Yeah.
In that, because everybody's so close, but yeah, you'd expect them to be really high up, and they really weren't.
Right.
And Perez, who's doing really well, really wasn't. And then Verstappen, who was really low the week before, was P2.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones who are fairly consistent I'm seeing is the really fast McLarens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that car's
Piastri's
Amazing right now.
Piastri has just been, man, like they're gonna have a fight next year
Yeah.
if that car continues to like have that really nice balance and speed, straight line speed. Man, that's gonna be such a good challenge between the Lando and Piastri.
yeah.
Anyway,
It is. It's an interesting evolution of the cars.
Yeah.
Like when you look at like where we are this year versus last year, and last year it was everybody knew Red Bull was going to win pretty much
Yeah.
every race, which they did, just about. And then this year, and so then it was like, okay, well, there's pretty clear number two, pretty clear number three. This year, like your number 2, 3, and 4, or at least your number, if you're 2, 3, and 4. It's pretty muddled.
Yeah.
Like which one is?
And
they
don't-
all have their question marks.
right, and don't discount Adrian Newey's new team.
Yes. I mean, do you think that he had an impact on the line of Singapore? This weekend?
No, but
Okay.
it could be, it's all, I think it's all here, right? It's all
Yeah.
psychosomatic or whatever. Like if he, if his presence in there, the whole team's going to work harder. You never know. They might be in it, even if it's, he's had no impact on the team, like actually, but anyway,
Could be. Yeah.
I want to see Aston Martin up there. I want to see Lance Stroll in the points consistently.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I don't know.
He starts winning races.
I can't imagine that.
I actually, he's really
No,
good.
I mean, he
in
actually
the wet,
has
so,
in the
yeah.
past. Yeah, in the past, he's had some good years where he has scored a lot of points. Past 2 years, not as much. But
Yeah.
So we had pretty cool qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Norris. So now going into the race, we're like, okay, Norris, you've had 7, 8 poles, and You've never led after the first lap. Is this going to be the one? You know, and I mean, odds are
He needed it.
Yeah, so there were a few things that going into this race, everybody's talking about. Oh, it's Singapore. There's always, you know, you've got your yellow flag coming out, and that's always going to impact the race 100% of the time. And I'm like, what? No, probability. Like if you study probability, it's not going to happen. An odd thing that's random isn't going to happen 100% of the time. It's not really odd and random at that
Right.
point. So that, like, I'm thinking, okay, I hope that we have one because it does make the race a little bit more fun.
Right.
You know, beginning, middle part
Strategy,
of the race.
everything,
Change
yeah.
the strategies up. So that always makes the race interesting. So possibly, you know, they play up the weather a whole lot. Is that going to be a factor? Maybe, maybe not. They took out 4 corners, and those on this track. They took out these 4 corners that were the corners that had the most incidents on. So that alone says, hey, you know, we may not have these yellow flags this race. Maybe, maybe not. So going into the race, you know, we've got Norris. Then everybody basically lines up from like 1 through 13. Just about is on medium tires except for Hamilton.
That's right.
He's starting third,
Sauce.
so he's going to take a gamble here.
Yeah.
So you've got like a team strategy going into it with Hamilton. Hey, can I jump up a spot or two? You know, and use these softs to an advantage early on. Maybe they have the yellow flag come out. Maybe it plays into him being in a better position later on. And if not, then you've got Russell right behind him that can play along with the strategy that the other guys are going with.
Right.
So that was something interesting to start with.
Do you think he was on board with that strategy?
That's an interesting question because so one of the things that they pointed out, like when they line up and they line up the cars and they all have the cars out on the lane, they have their tires sitting, you know, stacked up on the side before they put them on the vehicle. Well, like for instance, on this race, Verstappen, they only had 1 set of tires next to him, so you knew they're going whatever. They've already made up their mind. Next to Hamilton's vehicle, they had 2 sets of tires. So it's like, okay, are they trying? What are they doing? Are they still trying to make up their mind? Are they, you know, what are they doing
Psyching
there?
somebody out? Like, what are they
How
doing?
are they psyching somebody out? Because they're probably not going to take the covers off of both tires and then like act like they're going to put one on and switcheroo on them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that was kind of interesting that they came in like that.
I don't think he knew. I don't think he was on board. That's what I think. Because I mean, obviously, as the race progresses and we get into the race, that becomes an issue, right? That he's like,
immediately.
Yeah.
Well,
unless
sort of immediately.
unless they knew for sure that those tires were going to last, you know, very close to or as long as the mediums, which obviously they're never going to, or that car is just that can handle that much better. But I mean, straight off the bat, it doesn't work, you know. And he kind of voices his opinion about it. But
yeah, I mean, in all season, like the Mercedes, their tires have not handled as well, and especially like in higher temperatures, they degrade a little bit faster than the other vehicles. I think that they've worked that out to where it's better than where it was earlier in the season. But you've got that going on. But I think also like they're thinking, okay, he's in third. Norris historically doesn't have great starts. Verstappen does. Maybe there's a chance for him to pull up a spot or two and take a risk.
so weird. It seems like such an unnecessary risk. I feel like maybe if he was like in Sergio Perez's case, like that far out, maybe, perfect. Split the strategy, but he was so far off the grid. Like, why would you do that?
It did. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is like if you think that there's going to be an incident, if you really genuinely
they were
think
going with that 100% probability of a safety car, and
I mean, so the race, I mean, we get going on the race and he does not move up in place. He stays at third after the first lap and continues there for a bit.
But he was struggling when he got up.
Yeah,
even right off the line, he was struggling.
Yeah, he struggled off the line. He didn't catch up. Verstappen was leaving him behind.
Verstappen struggled off the line as well. I don't know. It looked like it, or either that or the McLaren was just that much quicker. But as soon as the McLaren, like the lights went off, the McLaren just sped off. And it took a second because normally Verstappen would just dive right in. And it took him a second. Like I feel like there was space behind the McLaren by the time Verstappen dove in to kind of take that.
You may be right, and I wonder if it was an issue with the car because whenever they were coming out to go out and do their formation lap, and he's sitting in pit row, and then he stops the car, and then he like gears up like he's going to make a fast start, and it doesn't respond to him. And so we were like, okay, was he trying something new, or was this an issue with the car?
Interesting.
Or what, why did that happen? And nobody ever went back and talked about it.
Right.
So it's just kind of something interesting
Yeah.
to see because normally like he comes off the line and he explodes off the line in a good way. And Norris, normally he's a little bit slower. So I don't know if they've made some car adjustments to that, but he definitely came off the line well, led after the first lap, was never
Finally.
passed, never looked back. I mean,
Yeah.
it was insane how much faster that car was.
What was impressive is he was pushing. Pushing, like he was racing his invisible self. You know how like if you've ever played one of these video games where you're just like you're racing, but then you catch your ghost.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what he was doing. He was racing his ghost
Yeah.
because he was in racing Verstappen. Verstappen was like so far behind him.
Yeah, it was insane. He was what like so as we go throughout the race, he continues to just put seconds on. It seems like every lap practically, pushing, and no issues on the tire deck. And so they wait until Verstappen pits, and then they box after that.
But he was pushing so hard that he hit the wall, and by the time he
Couple
went
of times.
a couple times, but
Just barely.
right before he went into the pits, he had hit the wall, and his car. I don't know if you noticed,
right.
it looked crooked, like the nose and the wing didn't look like parallel to the floor. Like it looked like it was lifted a little bit, and I was like, "There's no way," but. He kept putting on the second, so he could have been faster.
And that was interesting too, because that was on lap 30 and he hits the wall. They had told him to come on in, and instead of taking another lap around to see really like, okay, is there an issue? Is there not? They go ahead and he pits right away and he just changes tires. Now, everything was fine, and they have way more data than what, in an instant than what we can process. But if there was an issue, like they could have taken another lap around to see how it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then come in, change the tires, change the nose real quick, because he was like 20 seconds in front then.
Yeah.
An average time to change the nose is about 15 seconds, something like that, 10 to 15 seconds. So they could have done that. He could have still come out in first. I mean, even at that, like his car was so fast, even if he did come out in second, he still would have been able to pass and had plenty of time left. So, he just crushed it today.
Yeah. Him and the team crushed it for sure.
Yeah.
All their calls were good. They didn't mess up unnecessarily.
Yeah, Piastri moved up to third.
Yeah.
So you have like Norris, who, I don't know, with about 5-10 laps left, he's like 27 seconds in front of Verstappen. And Verstappen's close to like 17, 20 seconds in front of Piastri.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're moving. And and Norris ends up kind of letting off because he
was getting a little reckless.
Yeah, he was. He like almost lost it a couple of times.
Well, he looked like he was going to pass out when he came out.
Yeah,
you
he did.
saw David Coulthard
Yeah.
spill some water on him.
Intentionally.
Yeah. And I think he didn't know how to register that. He was like, okay, let me give you this awkward hug.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre.
Make this more awkward by
I actually
giving you a
cringed.
hug.
I was like, oh my God, this is gross. Like, Lando, are you mad or are you actually like enjoying this?
Yeah, so before...
Or are you confused?
I think a little both, but he gets out of the car and he goes over and he still has his suit all on, and he grabs a bottle of water and literally dumps it down his suit, And that was before he got interviewed by Coulthard.
Yeah.
Coulthard decided it would be fun to dump water on him, which was kind of funny. Then he gets a hug.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's a very British moment.
Yeah. Super awkward.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But so he wins. There wasn't a whole lot of drama. I don't think anybody spun out throughout the race. There was a puncture.
Magnussen had a puncture near
Magnussen,
the end.
had a puncture,
with
but
a couple of laps left.
but I mean,
couldn't
the
finish.
tire was intact, so it was just like
Yeah.
pressure loss or something.
Yeah, actually, it was earlier when he had the puncture, but at the very end of the race, like he had something go wrong with his car where he couldn't finish. It was like with a couple of laps left.
And
Albon, wasn't able to finish. He had to retire the car early.
oh, that's right. Yeah, that was it.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
That
yeah,
was it.
yeah. I think Ricardo was this was kind of interesting. So, throughout the race, we'll come back to Ricardo, but throughout the race, like Leclerc is moving up. He ends up finishing fourth.
Yeah.
So he ends up passing both Mercedes, and one of those being near the end, passing Russell near the end.
Russell wasn't looking that good.
Did he finish? Did he pass? No, he did not pass Russell. He passed Hamilton. Didn't pass Russell. He was close. He was pushing him, but he couldn't quite pass him. Yeah. So Leclerc did really well, moving up a few spots from ninth, ended up in fifth. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. So at the end, they end up with Ricardo. They have him put on some soft tires, and he goes after and gets the fastest lap. So he takes the whole
point,
time, like Norris had that fastest lap, but at the end they told Norris to back off a little bit, just like bring home the win, because he was so far in front. So that 1 point that he gets from the fastest lap helped Verstappen out.
So who's making these calls? And is there
Christian Horner?
legality issues here? Like, how does, honestly,
I don't know.
we could look this up a little more thoroughly, obviously, but I'm just asking the question. Like,
It's a good question to ask. Like, who's making the
a
call
little-
for
yeah,
that?
is
But
it-
hey,
is it Laurent?
It is but it doesn't matter. Like it's a way that VCarb could score points. There was no way he was going to finish in the top 10, so he goes
Yeah,
out.
but they don't actually get the point if they don't finish top 10.
Oh well,
They just take the point away.
That's awesome. Then.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Like,
Well, yeah.
did Christian Horner give Laurent a call and be like, "Hey, Daniel,
yeah.
maybe we'll
maybe
throw
we'll
throw
reconsider?
him no, maybe throw him a little extra. He likes Austin. Maybe just throw him an extra race and tell him to get fastest lap for us.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know. It was strange.
it could be, but it helped
Good,
Verstappen out.
good for Red Bull and good for
Mm-hmm.
Verstappen.
And I guess if that is Ricardo's last race, at least he does get to go out with a little bit of skin.
And he
there.
got driver of the day.
yeah.
So
Ooh, that's
I
nice.
mean, I think everybody also was like rooting for him.
yeah.
I think everybody's seen him and how like he's kind of underperformed and stuff, and it's like, but you still can't help but really like the guy. So nice way to go if that's his last lap and last race in F1.
Yeah.
I think we've all enjoyed his.
He's definitely
Performances, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely have enjoyed him on the grid.
Yeah.
It'll be sad if he's gone.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah. That's kind of
That's more or less-
Singapore, like,
yeah, it was a little-
there was a little bit of drama too at the very beginning with Colapinto. He comes around on the very first portion of the race, makes a huge lunge. It was pretty awesome. Go back and watch it if you hadn't seen it. But it forces. I think Albon's trying to make a lunge as well, and he's not able to make it. Has to run off the track. Colapinto makes it, pushes on through, moves up like 3 spots.
Yeah.
And has a really good
He has a really
drive.
good-
Doesn't score points at the end of the day. He ends up at 11th, but he started 12th, so moved up 1 spot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, battled a
but he
Red
raced
Bull for
really
like
well.
half the race.
yeah, I mean, he got compliments.
of?
I mean, Perez was even complimenting.
Yeah, I
him on
know.
radio.
During the
he was driving really well.
Yeah.
So it was interesting there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the guy.
Yeah,
Is he going to Sauber?
I don't think so.
Nah, I don't think so either.
I
He
mean,
might. He could go as like a reserve driver or something.
He could, but I mean, would he
Give Bottas like a 1 year and then
maybe?
he like takes over. I mean, he's made an impact in this 3 races.
Yeah, it's 3 races though.
You don't believe?
I don't believe yet. I don't believe.
You think
I think
they're-
that he's had 3 great races. He's performing very well.
Wow.
But like, you have all these experts and they never saw this kid. Like, they've talked about all these other people and they haven't talked about him. Like, you hear Kimi and Behrman and Hajkar all the
But
time.
they talk about Behrman. You think they'd sign Behrman now if he hadn't raced the first time with Ferrari, taking over that seat for a little bit? for that one race. I don't think like now today they would go and sign Behrman.
It's very. I feel that way as well. I don't
And
think he would have been
I
signed.
don't think so. So I don't know. I mean, who's to say? Like, but that guy's awesome. I'm convinced.
I think he is. I think he would be really good next year. I do feel like that. Is he better than Bottas? Is that a situation that he would go to or that he should go to? I don't know if that's the best
Yeah.
situation to go to as a rookie that
I
doesn't
agree.
come in very really touted as being a great driver, great future F1 driver, and going into a situation with a brand new team that's really starting up, that the portions of the team that have been around are old and that haven't done well. The car is horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're
to me, that doesn't seem like a great situation for him.
I guess if you look at everything around his situation, or not his situation, but rather the situation at Audi, Saudi,
Saudi, Albi,
Audi, Sauber,
Yeah.
then you could say yes, like Sauber / Audi would benefit specifically from two experienced drivers, giving them all the feedback possible, and not a new guy who is just going to like take the car and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't really know what Pinto can provide other than driving, but obviously Bottas has been around driving for some top teams.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows what's up.
Yeah. That's true.
I agree. I would keep him. I'd keep him for like a year, learn under Bottas and who else is,
Yeah.
Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
I mean, again, two people who have been around forever, not winners, but I mean, well, yeah, Bottas has won, but like not the best, but also he could get something from them and then come back and partner with Hulkenberg. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, that would be. It
Yeah.
would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I think Sainz did great by going to Williams.
I did too.
In hindsight, I was like, oh, that's such a bad idea. But then no, it's like the perfect move, I think. And they're fast. They're getting faster. And Albon, I don't think he's as good of a challenge as everybody's saying he is. He just hasn't been challenged. Yeah.
I think you may be correct. So, like, if that's the case, if Albon's not as good as what everybody has said that he is, then okay, then how good is Calapinto? But then also, how much better is Sainz going to be when he gets on board? Like
Yeah.
where are they really going to fight? Where are they really going to place? But the car is definitely getting better.
It's getting fast.
And I think that team is going to continue to improve. I think with the James Vowles there, I mean,
Yeah.
as long as they're giving him full reign,
Yeah.
that team's going to keep getting better and better.
I like the guy too.
I do too. I kind of like him. Like he's very straightforward. He's pretty steady. He's not like up and down crazy, but he's pretty calm and collected.
Yeah.
But like he's very serious about wanting to win, wanting to do a good job, wanting to have a good team, wanting to put out people, and wanting to do the right thing with all of his people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've enjoyed listening to
Same.
Yeah.
Cool. So our next race is in Austin.
Yes. The Circuit of the Americas.
Circuit of the Americas.
In Austin,
Texas.
Yeah. So will you be wearing your cowboy hat at that point when you're watching the race?
We'll see. We
I
might
will
have to
not.
take out the Spurs.
yeah, right. Get the Spurs out. For walking around.
Yeah, so we'll see. That's always
The
a good
Choco
race.
Spurs.
That's
Or
it's a good race for Max. Usually, always. So, but we'll see now with the McLarens being so quick. So it'll be interesting. And then, they'll be here in the States and North America. So.
Max needs to perform well if he's
Yeah.
going to keep the drivers' championship, and he needs Perez to perform well.
Yeah.
And if they can beat Norris by at least one spot, that's going to be beneficial for him.
Yeah.
He needs to have that happen like once or twice. But I think mathematically, like if both of them place 1 and 2, like if Verstappen is second in every race and Norris wins out, then Norris, I think,
Is gonna. Yeah, I think he'll take it.
I don't remember the exact point
pretty
total.
sure.
I have not added this before the show,
Yeah.
so my math in my head may be way off. So please don't hate me.
Well, the fact that he didn't get any points last race, I think that's what did it for him.
Yeah.
For Verstappen. So, yeah, he needs to score maximum points.
Maximum max.
From now until the end for sure, and have a few wins in there too, at least 2 or 3. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I hope the best for Sergio too, because he's got 2 home races basically coming up. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be good times.
Yeah,
Good times.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Craig,
Daniel,
do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an uneventful race. You know, it's
yes.
good and lots of stuff. We'll have a little break now, a second little couple long break, a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks.
Yes, basically a fall break.
A little fall break. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see you again. And in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe on
Your platform. You know what to do.
your favorite platform or your unfavorite platform.
Yes, either one.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Craig.
No, thank you, Daniel. It's good times.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.